9 young hikers deep in the Ural Mountains. What they found, or rather what found them remains one of history's most terrifying enigmas. The discovery was horrific. A tent torn open from the inside, abandoned in sub-zero temperatures. 9 sets of footprints, not running but stumbling, meandering down a frozen slope. And then, the bodies, some stripped to their underwear, others with inexplicable, brutal injuries. This wasn't just a hiking tragedy, it was a scene of unspeakable horror played out on a desolate peak known to the indigenous Mansi people as Kholat Dead Mountain. It began with such optimism. In late January 1959, a group of 10 experienced hikers, mostly students and graduates from the Ural Polytechnic Institute, set off on an ambitious expedition. Their leader was 23-year-old Igor Dyatlov, a skilled mountaineer. They were young, fit, and eager to conquer the challenging route, hoping to earn the coveted Category Roman 3 certification for their winter traverse. The group comprised 8 men and 2 women, all seasoned adventurers. Names like Zinaida Kolmogorova, Lyudmila Dubinina, Rustam Slobodin, and Yuri Krivonishenko. They were friends, united by a love for the outdoors. Their journey began in Ural, a small town in the Sverdlovsk Oblast, from where they took a train, then a truck, then began their trek into the formidable northern Urals. One member, Yuri Yudin, fell ill with sciatica and had to turn back on January 28th. A decision that, in hindsight, saved his life. He was the last person to see the 9 others alive. He watched them disappear into the vast white expanse, unaware that he was witnessing their final moments as a complete, living group. The plan was for Dyatlov to send a telegram from Vijay, the expedition's endpoint, by February 12th. When no message arrived, initial concern was low. Delays were common in the wilderness. But as days turned into weeks, a full-scale search and rescue operation was launched involving volunteers, the army, and even aircraft. On February 26, searchers finally located the abandoned tent on the eastern slope of Kholat. It was half collapsed, buried under snow, and sliced open from the inside. The campers' boots, warm clothing, and food supplies were still there. Everything they would need to survive the brutal mountain night, yet they had left it all behind. Imagine a sound. A constant, low thrum just at the edge of hearing, but only you can hear it. Now imagine the panic that would induce, a primal fear compelling you to flee. The footprints leading away from the tent were barefoot or in socks, some showing signs of injury, as if their owners had been desperate to escape. Not just the cold, but something far more terrifying. Following the tracks for about 1.5 miles down the slope, rescuers made their first grim discovery. Beneath a large cedar tree, the bodies of Yuri Krivonishenko and Yuri Doroshenko lay side by side. They were dressed only in their underwear, their hands badly burned from a desperate attempt to build a fire, their faces frozen in expressions of agony. The subsequent days brought more discoveries. Dyatlov was found further up the slope, seemingly trying to return to the tent. Zinaida Kolmogorova was found between Dyatlov and the cedar, also facing the tent. Rustam Slobodin, found later, had a fractured skull. These 3 showed signs of hypothermia, but also defensive wounds and strange bruising. They weren't just succumbing to the cold. The initial investigation concluded that all 9 had died of hypothermia. However, the discovery of the remaining 4 bodies 2 months later, buried under 15 feet of snow in a ravine, shattered that simple explanation. These victims presented injuries so severe, so utterly baffling, that they defied any natural explanation. Nikolai Thibault-Sprignol's had a crushed skull. Semyon Zolotaryov had multiple fractured ribs. And then there was Lyudmila Dubinina. Her injuries were the most disturbing: a crushed chest, multiple broken ribs, and, most horrifyingly, her eyes and tongue were missing. The official report would later state an unknown compelling force caused their deaths. The clothes found on some of the victims also presented a chilling puzzle. They contained traces of radiation, though not enough to be immediately lethal. Some garments were inexplicably torn or appeared to have been swapped, as if in a panicked attempt to warm themselves, or perhaps to wear the clothing of those already deceased. So, what could have happened that night on Kolotsiak? What could compel 9 experienced hikers to abandon the safety of their tent, slice it open, and flee into a blizzard, knowing it meant almost certain death? The answers remain elusive, fueling decades of speculation and countless theories. One of the most persistent, and initially plausible, theories involved an avalanche. A slab of snow could have slid down, crushing the tent, forcing the hikers to cut their way out. However, avalanche experts have largely dismissed this. The slope wasn't steep enough for a typical avalanche, and the tent's location was protected. There were also no signs of a large snow mass having descended. Another theory suggests infrasound. Imagine a low-frequency sound below the range of human hearing, but capable of causing intense anxiety, disorientation, and even physical illness. Could a rare meteorological phenomenon have created such an effect, driving the hikers into a state of panic and irrational flight? The indigenous Mansi people who lived in the region were initially suspected, but the investigation found no evidence of their involvement. Their tracks weren't present, and they had no history of violence against outsiders. Furthermore, the nature of the injuries didn't align with any known human attack, particularly the missing body parts. Perhaps the most chilling theories involve military testing. Reports of strange, glowing orbs and bright flashes of light in the sky were made by other hikers in the region around the time of the incident. Could the Dyatlov group have stumbled upon a secret Soviet weapons test, perhaps a parachute mine or a biological agent, leading to a cover-up? Imagine an orb of pure energy, defying gravity, gliding silently through your home. Then it vanishes. For the Dyatlov group, the sight of such phenomena on a desolate mountain could have been terrifying. The radiation found on their clothes could be explained by exposure to a secret weapon, and the severe blunt force trauma by a powerful concussive blast. The paradox of hypothermia is another disturbing aspect. Some victims were found partially undressed, even though they were freezing. This phenomenon, known as paradoxical undressing, can occur in severe hypothermia, where the body experiences a sudden sensation of intense heat, prompting the victim to remove clothing, accelerating their demise. But while paradoxical undressing explains the lack of clothing, it doesn't account for the crushed skulls, the broken ribs, or the missing eyes and tongue. Hypothermia causes death, not mutilation. The injuries were far too specific, too violent, to be solely attributed to the cold or even a fall. In 2019, Russian authorities reopened the investigation, concluding that an avalanche was the most probable cause. Combined with poor visibility and a panicked response, they proposed a specific type of slab avalanche that could have explained the tent damage and some injuries. But even this modern conclusion has its critics, unable to fully reconcile all the forensic details. The Dyatlov Pass incident remains a chilling testament to the unknown. 9 young lives, full of promise, extinguished in the most bizarre and brutal circumstances. Their final moments, a terrifying scramble against an unseen, incomprehensible force, forever etched into the icy slopes of Dead Mountain. We may never know the full truth of what happened that night. The official explanations, both past and present, struggle to knit together every thread of this macabre tapestry. The sheer terror evident in their desperate flight, the inexplicable trauma, the missing body parts. These details haunt us, challenging our understanding of what lies hidden in the wild, unforgiving corners of our world. If the chilling embrace of the unknown sends shivers down your spine, then perhaps our next journey into history's darkest corners will captivate you just as deeply.